very good.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast's Christmas special. I'm Jack Hope, and today I am joined by Ross Legg. Ross, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jack. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, it's like 1/3 your show.
Yeah, well, I kind of feel like this based upon last year. I kind of feel like it got a little bit out of hand, the Christmas show, and I'm just fortunate that I've been allowed back onto the Christmas show. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I guess we are glad to have you back. In addition to Ross, we are joined by Max Rowe Brown. How are you doing, Max? And Merry Christmas.
Hello, Jack. Merry Christmas to you too. I'm very well, thank you. I'd say, Ross, I think we're equally to blame for last year's whatever happened last year, so don't worry about it.
It is the Christmas special, and as with last year, we will be doing a big Christmas cricket quiz where we will be running through the cricketing events of the year, or the cricketing events of the year which actually took place, and doing a quiz about them. Ross and Max, you'll be facing off in that. Are you excited?
Gunning.
Bit of a grudge match.
Can't wait to go.
Yeah, a bit of a grudge match. And you can play along at home, can't you? Because we all tell the
You
answers.
can.
So if you've got grab a pen and paper and enjoy the show.
Yeah. In addition to that, though, Max has written and recorded 3 Christmas carols, haven't you, Max?
I have indeed, yes. Based on some of your Christmas favourites with a cricketing theme. I hope you enjoy.
Christmas number 1 is in the bag for us guys, I reckon.
I don't know.
I'm sure it will be.
There's a big one actually. I don't know if you've seen that's currently number 2 in the charts that people have been trying to get up to that fabled spot called Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt. Have you seen that?
Whoa! Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome to the Cricket Podcast.
He's dropped the C-bomb. We haven't had a C-bomb on this show since Chris Nash.
I'm just naming the title of the song. Don't shoot the messenger.
Do they play that on Radio 1?
I don't know. Guessing not.
And, of course, we will be talking about India's historic failure as they were bowled out for just 36 against Australia. That was hilarious, and that will be the sort of last third of the show. So if you hate quizzes and you're weird, you can skip ahead to then. But first, before we get into the general festivities of the Christmas cricket quiz, we're going to start with our traditional first question. This week, on a Christmas theme, my question to you, and we will start with Max, is which cricketer do you think would make the best Father Christmas and why?
Well, for this one, I've focused mainly on the physical attributes, and I think the man that comes to mind who is a portly gentleman with a red face has to be Mike Gatting. And to be honest, I can see him dressed in a Santa Claus outfit, visiting a department store near you, if I'm honest.
Hey, the salaries weren't that good in the 90s, were they, Max?
Well, no, you need the pension's not there. You gotta find your way somehow.
I don't know if I approve of that answer, to be honest. I feel like I don't. Yeah. Well, look, it's your world, isn't it? And you've got to live in it. Ross, who would you choose as a cricketer to become Santa Claus?
So I don't think I would choose Mike Gatting. I wouldn't particularly like sitting on his lap, I don't think. So I've used a bit of a different criteria. So I've gone with who has promised hope to so many, who has a track record of delivering many gifts over the years, who's typically seen as quite a jolly bloke, and who also, obviously, who's been known to have a bit of a gut. But then my final bit is, who could you see running a pretty hardcore factory? Is my kind of slant on it, and I reckon Shane Warne would be my Santa Claus.
That's interesting, and it's interesting the preface you gave to that, where you said you wouldn't want to sit on Mike Gatting's lap, because that implies you would be quite happily perched upon Shane Warne's knee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Can you confirm either way?
Yeah, no, I know. I would definitely feel that, because I can imagine Shane would take me in one hand and do the thing that leg spinners do, just to flip the ball. It would be a pretty interesting experience, and overall quite a nice bit of tomfoolery.
I'm not going to go there, Jack. I want to, but I'm not.
Yeah, let that one go through to the keeper, mate.
Yeah.
I went with so I thought more about the traditional Santa Claus thing that he does, where he goes around the world flying and drinking booze.
Oh, nice.
Right, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what he does, isn't it? Basically, Santa Claus's job is to sit around in the North Pole and then once a year fly from place to place drinking scotch or sherry or whatever people have left out for him. So you need someone with a high alcohol tolerance. You also need someone who fits the description. So they need to be reasonably large.
I think
they
I know
need
where
to
this
be
is
someone
going.
who can sport a beard. I'm going with David Boone.
Yeah.
Saw that a couple of mile off.
Yeah. David Boone, famously, of course, he drank 52 beers on the flight from Sydney to London. That's a lot of beer. And I think he could stand up to the liver punishment that Santa Claus has to endure on an annual basis. What do you reckon to that, lads?
Yeah, you can definitely see him working in a department store as a Christmas Santa.
Yeah. I find it interesting that you've both gone for notoriously generous Australians.
Yeah, does English people really suit the Santa role? That's the thing. I'm just not sure they do.
What do you reckon? Not enough. Not enough. What's the word? Discipline.
It's more that in the cricketing world, everyone hates England. It just doesn't. They don't. England don't project kindly old man, do they?
No, my original one was actually going a completely different tangent. Was James Vince, as he just likes gifting his wicket away, and that was the first germination of an English person. But I think David Boone is a good shout. Mike Gatting, not a bad shout. I'm not going to talk any more about Shane Warne tossing me in his hands. So let's get on with the show, shall we?
Let's.
Before we do, though, we do need to say something to our listeners, Ross. What do we need to say to them?
Merry Christmas. Oh, no. It's follow us at The Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram, as well as all podcast platforms, and recommend us to a friend. You might not want to recommend them this show in particular, but we'll see how it goes.
And seriously, Merry Christmas. We will take a short break, and then we will be back with the opening rounds of this year's Christmas Cricket Quiz.
When you're at your desk alone, because you have to work at home, you need a distraction to get you through the day. So tune in to TNS to catch England's latest test, or turn over to Sky because we all know the IPL's the best. Oh, I wish there could be cricket every day, when the tier 4 hits and the virus has stopped playing. Oh well, I wish there could be cricket every day. Let the Lord's bell start the cricket. When it's wintry and dark, so you can't go down the park, better hope the TV's got something good on. Switch over to BT, they've got everything you need. You can stay up all night to watch the Indians in Oz get blown away. Oh well, I wish there could be cricket every day. When the TV hits and the virus has stopped playing. Oh well, I wish there could be cricket every day. Oh, let the Lord's bell start the cricket.
It's quiz time. Are you ready to quiz, boys?
So ready.
Ross just nodded.
I'm hyped. I've got too much adrenaline pumping through me.
Cool. Well, as with every quiz, you need to start with a name, don't you? So, Max, what name would you like to quiz under today?
Well, I will be taking inspiration from one of my lovely carols, and I will be called I Wish It Could Be Quizmas Every Day by Quizzard.
That's so smooth, Max. That's so smooth. It's almost like we just played that carol.
Almost like.
I'm not going to remember that, so I'm just going to call you Max from now on.
Okay.
I do think, though, I will give you credit. Last year, when we asked what would you like to be your quiz name, you said ukulele.
Yeah. So I mean,
we're getting better.
It's a similar theme. We're still going with the musical theme, but I've used my brain a bit more.
Ross, your quiz name for this year's Christmas quiz of the year.
I'm going to take inspiration from one of our guests this year, and I'm going to be known as Quiz Tremlet.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. If we were giving out points for that, I would give one to Ross. Even though Max put loads of effort into that song, I know it took him like an hour to record it later on. That's the kind of quizmaster I am.
I can't say I'm surprised.
Right, fellas, are we ready to quiz? We're going to kick off with the first question. Do you need me to explain the rules?
Maybe a quick refresher would be good.
It's very simple, Max. What we're going to do is we're going to alternate questions from one to the other of you. That gives whoever has the chance, or the whoever's question turn it is, the opportunity to get the point. If you give me a wrong answer, then the other player has the opportunity to steal. And we're just going to go through quiz questions like that for half an hour or something. Does that make sense?
Sounds delightful.
Buckle in, listeners.
Oh, yes, we should mention the listeners. If you're playing at home, team valued listener, there's not really any way for you to join in live, but do let us know on Twitter how you got on. Let's go. We're going to go right back to the beginning of the year. This is basically a chronological quiz. So,
Big Hat Quiz of the Year style.
Cast your minds back to January, February last year, pre-coronavirus. Do you remember those golden days?
The Hacienda days.
Pre-COVID.
Starting with you, Ross. Your first question. Cast your mind back to the beginning of the year. India were touring New Zealand. Do you remember that?
No, I do not.
Okay. Max, for 1 point. No, of course you remember that. It was a fantastic series with the 2 Super Overs and all sorts of carnage. My question to you, Ross, is during that series, one player became the first man to play 100 internationals in all 3 formats of the game. Who was that player?
Ross Taylor?
Bang! Straight away. Ross, off the mark.
Get in.
That was quite an interesting or a weird series. I don't know how well you remember it, but India won 5-0 in the ODIs with 2 Super Overs. Back then, we were all like, the main thing in our minds was the World Cup, so people couldn't believe that New Zealand had lost another couple of Super Overs. That was in the T20 series. Then New Zealand came back, won all 3 ODIs, and smashed India in the tests. Mm-hmm. It was a good way to start the year. I enjoyed it. Max, are you ready for your first question?
I am. Ross has put the pressure on.
He has, yeah. Do you reckon this will be a bit like a penalty shootout where if you go first, you have a massive advantage?
Could be, as long as you score.
Could be, yeah. Anyway, the Women's T20 World Cup took place in Australia shortly after that New Zealand-India series and was eventually won by the hosts. But they did lose a game in that tournament. They lost the tournament opener. Can you remember, Max, who beat them?
No, but I'll say I'll say a team, and I'll hope that it's right. Was it South Africa?
It was not South Africa, which gives Ross the chance to go 2-0 up. Ross, do you know who beat Australia in the opener of the Women's T20 World Cup earlier this year?
Was it Bangladesh?
I mean, they were 2 rogue choices, I have to say, boys.
No, West Indies would be my actual guess, because Bangladesh, I'm not even sure if Bangladesh were even there. So
they were there. You're still wrong,
okay.
And you should hang your heads in shame. India won the tournament opener. I don't know if you remember. Well, obviously you don't. Poonam Yadav took 4 for 19.
Ooh.
In the first game, confused the Australians with her googly. Obviously, Australia eventually got going. They nearly got eliminated in the group stage, but New Zealand, like perplexingly, lost by 3 runs with loads of wickets in hand. Eventually, Australia, of course, did have their revenge. They smashed India in the final and did win that tournament. Which means we're on to question 3. Ross, back to you. The same World Cup event. At the Women's T20 World Cup, one team made their debut in all ICC events. So they never featured in a men's tournament before. They never featured in a women's tournament before. Which nation appeared at that tournament for the first time?
Thailand.
What an easy question. This one better be easy, Jack.
Let's not bring the quiz into disrepute, young man. 3 questions in.
Did you remember how Thailand got it on in the tournament?
I think they lost every game.
They lost all their games apart from one against, was it Pakistan that was rained off, and they were in a really good position.
Matt, that's an exceptional memory there. They did. They lost every game. They pretty much every game they got to about 80 in their 20 overs, apart from the last game, where for some reason they got 150, and then the game was rained off as soon as they finished batting. Cricket, eh?
Yeah, cruel mistress.
Max, we're now heading towards lockdown.
Oh, good.
Does that make you sad?
Yeah.
In March this year, just shortly after, or just around the time lockdown was announced in the UK, Amazon released their first foray into cricket in their sports documentary genre. Over the 8-part series, The Test, we follow the Australian team as they recover from a national scandal, get pounded by India at home, get knocked out of the World Cup against England, and inexplicably fail to win the 2019 Ashes as Nathan Lyon drops the ball. My question, Max, is which inanimate object does Justin Langer kick the shit out of straight after Lyon made that mistake? I mean, Ross definitely knows this.
Yeah, I haven't watched The Test, so that's not ideal. What kind?
It's also not seen any cricket memes for an entire year.
No, apparently not. I mean, I'm just trying to think of what would be lying around that you could kick the shit out of.
Yeah. Cricket changing room, Max. Come on.
Yeah.
There's got to be a time limit on these.
If you don't guess, I'm going to pass this on to Matt.
Ross, it's a cricket helmet.
Oh my god. He's dropped an absolute clanger there.
It's a bin. He kicks the shit out of the bin.
Oh, it's always a bin, isn't it?
And then he has to pick the litter up off the floor that went down the stairs. It is one of the most humiliating scenes, and you can tell that he's livid. Like Langer he's a serious bloke anyway. Oh, thanks for that.
Well, you would be, wouldn't you?
He's going to blow a gasket. Ross, you were a big fan of The Test, weren't you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it actually. I think there was a couple of bits in there which was very much I don't know, a real love for the baggy green. You do everything for the baggy green, and it's a little bit embarrassing, but great watching, especially in lockdown.
Max, I guess we both recommend it to you.
Yeah.
Do you want a little score update?
3-0.
It is 3-0 to Ross after 4 questions. Bearing in mind you've had 2 questions each, that's a tragic performance from you, Max.
Yep, I don't think it's going to get any better.
Maybe you need to calm down on the old Beaujolais. Moving on, we're now in the English summer, the glory days of the 2020 COVID year. We're going to switch up the order that I asked the questions in. So, Max, you get another one straight away. Can you redeem yourself? Are you feeling confident?
Nope.
Mate, if it's about county cricket, you're in.
There is one about county cricket, and it is for Max. So, you know.
Oh, dear.
It's a banker. It's got to be a banker, hasn't it?
Which county does Max Rowe Brown have a season ticket of?
Actually, Max, do you remember that show where you read out your complaint letter to Surrey Cricket Club?
What about it?
just an interesting turn of events, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you ever get a response?
Yeah, it was fucking bullshit.
Ross, I get the impression. Yeah. I get the impression Max isn't enjoying himself very much.
They fobbed us off with some nonsense, but they did actually in the end add another £20 discount on the direct debit scheme, so something got through, obviously.
Well, another win for the cricket podcast.
Yeah. Right, Max.
Yeah.
This one is something that even you could get. You don't have to have watched the biggest cricket documentary of all time. You don't have to know like the basics about one of the big ICC events or the only ICC event to take place this year. It's unfortunately it's not about Thailand, which appears to be your area of expertise.
Subject. Yeah.
It's about men's Test cricket.
Right.
The question is very simple. In the year 2020, who is currently the top Test run scorer? I'm going to need a name.
You are.
Or at least you're thinking. You can't just sit there in silence. It doesn't work very well on a podcast.
I am thinking, yes. Well, so who's played? England have played. They've played West Indies and Pakistan, and Australia have started playing India, and India. I think it's got to be someone for England.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You sure?
I think it has to be. But who's scored loads of runs?
I wasn't asking which team name.
Yeah.
We need a player.
We need a player. Oh dear.
Go on, Max. You got this.
Oh, I don't know.
I
Dom
can't
Sibley.
take that answer. It's not Dom Sibley.
Ooh,
Dom
good
Sibley's
guess.
actually second.
Oh.
Dom Sibley, he is 26 runs behind number one.
That's painful.
Close, yeah. I mean, what's that? That's 96% of a right answer you gave me there. But it isn't the right answer. Ross, to go 4-0 up in this frankly shambolic quiz.
I'm going to go for Ben Stokes.
It is Ben Stokes.
For fuck's sake. I didn't think it could possibly be the obvious.
Why?
Because it's you.
All the answers have been the obvious.
Yeah.
Ross, that brings us on to your turn. This is to go 5-0 up. We might have to instigate a mercy rule and call this whole thing off because it's getting out of hand. Ross, your question. Stuart Broad, he was in the headlines early in the English summer after he was dropped and then went on a rant in the Sky Sports Players chair. He came back and tore things up. But my question is, how old is Stuart Broad?
32.
He's not 32, and this gives Max the opportunity to perhaps claw one back. Broad, I mean, he had a really good summer, didn't he? He took 29 wickets at 14.25, which is good.
It seems like exactly the kind of form you'd get out of a 32-year-old.
If I were in Ross's position, I'd have also gone for 32. So I can only assume in the intervening period he's had a birthday and he's 33.
Well, you're both incorrect.
34?
He is 34 years old.
Oh.
Ross is celebrating that victory. What was your favourite Broad moment of the summer, Ross?
I have now enjoyed that he's taken to Twitter to commenting on absolutely everything. So he looks like the kind of bloke who Googles his name at least once a day. So
definitely, yeah. At least once a day. At least
now
once an hour.
So instead of just like letting kind of journalists go, oh, Stuart Broad might be passed or anything like that, he's kind of just going, all right, you said that. Why have you said that about me? And I quite like that about Stuart Broad, I must admit.
Yeah. Broad's almost old enough at 34 to have, well, he probably is, to predate social media in terms of fame. So I feel like people who are of that age spout a lot more nonsense because they haven't been trained and they haven't had any like repercussions at school from social media.
And
anyway.
he also got so much practice when he had that Kevin Peterson Genius account, I suppose. So he's pretty well versed in the old Twitter sphere, I'm guessing.
Right, Max. Onto your area of speciality.
Yeah.
The Bob Willis Trophy replaced the county championship as this year's Red Bull domestic tournament in England. I think we'd all agree that it was a success, with a boatload of people tuning in to stream the final. Max, my question for you is, in the tournament, can you name the top run scorer and top wicket taker?
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough question.
I'll give him 2 points if he gets them both, if that's so tough. Ross?
Was the top wicket taker Simon Harmer?
That's correct, Max. That's 1 point.
Can
Can you snaffle both?
Top run scorer, Alistair Cook.
He's got both. Fuck. He struck back. It's now 4-2. After I generously increased the number of marks available there.
Yeah, I feel like he's played you for a fool there. Took the early 4-0 lead and is now going to get preferential treatment throughout the quiz.
Simon Harmer, he took 38 wickets, which was pretty good in 6 matches. And Cook, he notched over 500 runs, including an aggregate of 200 in the final. Do you remember the result in the final, Ross?
Essex won, didn't they?
I think it was a draw and Essex won. It wasn't one of those like really weird things that could only happen in cricket where...
Yeah, they won because their first innings total was bigger.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I remember saying at the time the only way Essex can win is
Drawing
the
against
only
Somerset.
way the only way Somerset can win is if they go for the win.
Yeah.
Which did actually make sense on that podcast.
But it sounds bonkers now.
It is completely bonkers when you say it out of context. Ross, back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And to the Test cricket. So the summer series, the first series we had in the summer was between England and the West Indies. This was the last time the teams would compete for the Wisden Trophy. My question, Ross, is that trophy is being renamed after two famous players from the past. Can you name both those players? Unlike with Max, you're only going to get 1 point for this.
The both of them are Richards.
Oh, it is. Well done. Straight away. It's been quite an interesting year for Ian Botham, hasn't it?
Yeah, who'd have thought that spouting a load of shit about Brexit would actually get you a knighthood, or whatever it is, a lordship?
He is, Lord Botham. Ross, you are now on 5 points. Max, you're on 2 points. And I think, Max, you've got a tricky question coming up here.
It's going to be about a spinner.
Stuart Broad dismissed Craig Braithwaite to take his 500th Test wicket during the series v the West Indies.
You're going to ask me who Jimmy did? No.
Why did this give everyone a slight sense of deja vu?
Because that was how he got his 100th?
No, it's not that. It's not that. Ross, do you know the answer?
Max has completely put me off with the Jimmy Anderson bit. Was Craig Braithwaite also Jimmy Anderson's 500th wicket?
Oh my God, Ross, you're absolutely on fire today. That's correct. Both of them got to 500 wickets, dismissing Craig Braithwaite, which is pretty good.
Nice.
Max, you literally teed yourself up.
Yeah, I feel like I fucked that, don't I? Oh well. You're welcome.
Ross.
The people not driving home for Christmas listening to this must be having a great time.
I'm not.
Ross. Anderson, he went on to take 600 wickets shortly after Broad reached his 500th. He dismissed Azhar Ali, if you're interested, Max. He was the second fastest man to 600 wickets, behind which other player?
Matai Muralitharan?
Ross, you're just too good at cricket trivia. It's now 7-2.
I actually knew that one.
Yeah, well, that's makes a change, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Murali, he took... Do you know how many more balls he took? And Max, if you get this, I'll give you 3 points.
How many more balls Jimmy Anderson took?
How many... Yeah.
42.
6. Very close. I mean, 42 is a multiple of 6.
Yeah, it is.
Do you want me to give you 1 point?
What about a seventh of 3 points?
That was... I mean, Anderson, 600 wickets. Would anyone like to eulogise on Anderson briefly?
I just think it's quite interesting for Jimmy that how long does he continue going for? So when it comes to now the breaks because of COVID, like his body could improve, could get worse. I don't know what the science is behind it when it comes to having a break at this point in your career. Is it a point where you miss out, or is it going to elongate it and he'll play till like he's 45, like Darren Stevens, still bending it around corners? I don't know. Nobody's
really tried it before, have they? Or at least not in the era when people were professional.
Like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan went to play baseball and then came back to play basketball. Was pretty good.
But I think he was like early 30s when he went to play baseball. He wasn't late 30s. The only person I can think of that might be somewhat similar, who was the bloke who came back to play against the West Indies, the opening batsman, who was 45 when the West Indies turned up with Michael Holding in the series where Tony Gregg, the white South African at the beginning, he said, "I intend to make the West Indies grovel," and it didn't really go well for England as they lost 5-0. I can't remember the name of the bloke, I'm afraid. But
Brian Close.
Brian Close, thank you, Ross. Brian Close got
I have just googled that, by the way. So.
But yeah, it didn't really go that well for Brian Close. So I maybe don't take a really long break late in your career. On the topic of good things from the summer, we did ask on Twitter whether people had any fond memories. People pointed out it was nice to see Chris Wokes batting well again. Did you like that, Max?
Yes, I did.
He's an interesting character, Chris Wokes, because he's quite understated with what he does. But was it at some point this summer that he had a better batting average and a better bowling average than Ben Stokes?
I think it's possible that has happened. I mean, Colin de Grandhomme has got a better bowling average and a better batting average than Ben Stokes. Does that necessarily mean that Colin de Grandhomme?
Yeah, but I mean, he's brilliant, isn't he? Like, we know that. And we know that he modifies his game and plays a little within himself to give everyone else a chance, like a true de Grandad.
Mm-hmm. and he was offered. He's famously offered the final over in the World Cup Super Over. And was like, no, Trent Boult should do it. I'm too good. I'll win this outright for New Zealand. I'm going to give the opportunity to Trent Boult.
I think we should make cricket history right now. Lads, a couple of other things to note from the summer. I think Stuart Broad's drop then run out. That was pretty funny, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, Stuart Broad would be the first person to completely chastise someone who drops a catch like that. And then for him to instantly rectify himself almost gives him more ammunition to have a go at someone.
I mean, it was a legendary summer for Broady, wasn't it? He took more wickets than anyone else. He did the run-out drop, which was maybe the best piece of fielding anyone has ever seen. And he also learned to bat again. I mean, that was completely unexpected. He's the all-rounder that we all knew that he could be once again.
I think Sports Personality of the Year. Could well be.
And I think we should tip the cap, as they say, to Shan Masood, who scored that wonderful 150 in the first England v Pakistan test. Max, are you a big Shan Masood fan as a left-handed opening batsman?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you like, Max? Would it improve your mood?
Do you want me to expand on that answer?
Well, no, yes.
I was very impressed with how he'd remodelled himself and come back, and it was a fabulous innings of grit and determination, if not some luck.
Nice backhanded insult.
Yeah.
From
well, it's the only way I ever get any runs, so it's fine by me.
Lads, we are nearly at the halfway stage of the quiz.
So I can still come back.
We have one more question before we will take a short break and listen to more of your wonderful music, Max. It's the improv round. Ross,
I'm really happy you started with me in the improv round.
Yeah. In one sentence, can you explain to me what you saw from this summer that suggests England could win the Ashes down under? I'll give you 2 seconds to think about that.
But I don't know what you even mean by that. So,
do you want me to say it again? And if you listen this time, maybe you'll get the message. In one sentence. So do you know what a sentence is?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what one is?
1 lesson 2.
Yes. Yeah. You've got a firm grasp of what one and a reasonable grasp of sentence.
Literacy, numeracy. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. So using that parameter. Can you explain to me what you saw this summer, so in the things we were just talking about, basically, that suggests England, the cricket team England, could win the Ashes, the tournament they play against Australia, down under in 2021-22?
Dom Sibley, better known as the Fridge, bats long.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, I like that. That's a potential reason. Max, similarly, but in reverse. In one sentence, can you explain to me what you saw this summer that suggests England won't win the Ashes down under? So similar to Ross, I can. Could you need me to go back through that and break down all the different parts of the sentence?
That's fine, thanks.
Yeah, you do understand the question.
Yeah.
Well, when you're ready.
Well, my answer would be we still seem to pick Dom Bess as a spinner.
Oh, they're both compelling arguments. However, in the interest of fairness, I'm going to award Max 3 points.
3?
So,
pity points. At
the halfway stage in the quiz, it is 7 points to Ross and 5 points to Max. We'll be back after this short Christmas carol.
Bell retired this year after several hundred games played for Worcestershire. had the best nickname, but I still believe instead of Zach Crawley, as long as he still breathes, he should be back at number 3. Oh, Ian Bell, Ian Bell, Ian all the way. What I'd give to see him play another England game. Ian Bell, Ian Bell, Ian all the way. What I'd give to see him play another England game. He scored a pile of runs in their 120 tests, got 22 tons, and he has the best cover drive I know, a beauty to behold. And once he even got Mohammed Yusuf caught and bowled. Oh, Ian Bell, Ian Bell, Ian all the way. What I'd give to see him play another England game. Oh, Ian Bell, Ian Bell, Ian all the way. What I'd give to see him play another England game.
So, fellas, welcome back to the Christmas cricket quiz. How do you think it's going so far, Ross?
I kind of feel like this is like the scene out of Casino Royale. You know, when Le Chiffre has just cleaned out Daniel Craig and James Bond, and Max is coming back to the table. He's just survived a pretty... Well, did he have a heart attack or something like that? And,
he gets poisoned, doesn't he? Yeah.
He gets poisoned. So I think Max is looking suave. He looks like he's ready to go. He looks like he's about to take me on.
Max, what's your favourite James Bond movie?
I think I'm going to go with Goldfinger. It's really funny.
Goldfinger? I think Casino Royale, and I'm happy you brought it up, Ross, because we can talk about James Bond for a second. I think James Bond's crap overall, but I will say that I do think Casino Royale is a uniquely good film among the crap. It is also, in my opinion, the most festive of the James Bond movies. I feel like it works best at Christmas.
Yeah, I'm not
exactly sure why, but that's just like, some films feel like that.
Yeah,
I stick with Die Hard for my Christmas fun.
Not a James Bond movie though, is it?
No, it's better.
Which was the point I was making.
Yeah. McClane, John McClane.
Anyway, back to the Christmas quiz of the year. It is currently 7 points to Ross and 5 points to Max. After that, that inspired improv answer. This round, because we're introducing the concept of rounds here. At the beginning when I said we would alternate, for a few questions, we're just not going to do that, and it's going to be quick fire.
Oh, right.
This was a round. Originally, I envisaged this round as COVIDiots, and it would be all about the funny things that happened because of COVID in cricket. But really, not that much funny stuff happened. So it's not about that, or it is only about that tangentially. Do you understand how it's going to work?
I think so.
Sure.
You're going to ask a question. Whoever answers first wins the point.
Just shout answers.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yes.
Back in the summer, our dear leader, Boris Cromwell Johnson, described a cricket ball in a weird way whilst justifying a continued
Vector of
ban
disease.
of the... Ooh. Ross, would you like to steal?
No, I think he's about right. He's in the right ballpark. I don't know the language, I think.
It was a natural vector of disease, and I would have accepted a natural vector of disease. Max, because you're behind, you get another pity point there. So it is now 7-6.
Were the words vector of disease not in?
I'm the quizmaster.
I had a mini stroke, I'm afraid.
Yeah, the words.
He gets a few points, then he gets quite confident, doesn't he, our Maxi?
Yeah, he does. It's nothing to do with the wine that
it
he's
was
consuming.
a race against the clock, wasn't it? I had to get in there first.
Well,
Right.
Max, as I said, I put my hands up there. You won that, Joel. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Cricket did, of course, eventually restart. Confusingly, the amateur game started about 2 weeks before the professional game outside of international cricket. But, that's the ECB for you, isn't it? Keeping everyone on their toes. Question 2. Stuart Broad defied... There's a lot of Stuart Broad questions in here. I obviously had him on my mind for some reason.
Yeah.
But there's Stuart Broad question number 8. Stuart Broad defied expectations by not becoming the first player to break...
Dom Sibley.
Yeah, very good.
To break COVID rules by spitting on the ball. Which player did? It was Dom Sibley. Well done, Ross. That's 8 points to 6 now. Question 3. In the Caribbean, they managed to play a full version of the Caribbean Premier League, though all the fixtures had to take place in one country. Which country? I'm going to take your silence.
Barbados.
I don't know. Max says Barbados. That's incorrect. Ross, one shout.
Jamaica?
Too long, and it's not Jamaica. It was Trinidad and Tobago. The Trimbago Knight Riders, they also won the tournament as they won every match, which is pretty good going in a franchise T20 league where parity is like built into the system. To win 12 consecutive matches is pretty phenomenal. Back in May, we're on the next question now, by the way. Back in May, we spoke with Shane Dietz on the Cricket Podcast. He is the CEO of Vanuatu Cricket and masterminded the Vanuatu T10 Blast, which, for a while, was the only cricket being played worldwide. In the tournament, the Sharks took on the Bulls, who took on the Panthers. My question is, who won the Vanuatu T10 Blast?
Bulls.
It's not the Bulls. Max, You've got a 50-50 between the Sharks and the Panthers.
Sharks.
It's the Sharks.
No!
Well done, Max.
Well done, Max. Well done.
It is now 8-7. There's 1 point in it. The Ifira Sharks took down the mighty Afate Panthers in the final. The Empty Bulls came third.
Yeah, I remember the empty
Balls, yeah.
That's how I thought they celebrated. Sorry.
Next question. England's series against South Africa was curtailed recently after England decided to withdraw. Questions were raised about the security of the South African bubble. After the series was cancelled, the doctor of the South African team did concede that they had been lax in a few areas. Which thing in particular did he refer to?
Barbecue.
Ross takes it, yes. Which thing did he in particular did he refer to when he was talking about laxity in the bubble? It was the braai. They had a big braai, which is South African for barbecue, which happened on the first day of the tour. So they just invited people along right at the beginning. It wasn't like, the guys have been in the bubble for 3 weeks now or something. Let's let them see their family. No, first day. Let's have a cookout.
It might have been there. We don't know. We can't say for sure.
Anyway, that's the end of the COVIDiots round. Ross, you stretch your lead back out to 2 points again. It is 9-7. We did, of course, eventually get some cricket recreationally. Paul Griffiths, friend of the podcast, Paul Griffiths, said that was one of his favourite moments of the whole year, was just getting out to play again. Ross, you had a pretty good season in the recreational game. What was your favourite moment, or have you got any stories that you'd like to regale the listeners with?
I think the very first game was quite an impactful one. I think we were Max played in that game, obviously.
Yeah.
Max and I opened up the batting together. I think we both ended up with half centuries, which is a solid start, I thought. However, earlier in the game, there was quite a slant on the hill. What about maybe a 30% gradient, 25% gradient, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And
Just sliding down towards one boundary.
Yeah, I'm hurtling down that. That's for no reason. It's the first fixture back. It's not competitive.
I mean, you were chasing the ball. There was a reason.
Yeah, but in terms of the level of competitiveness that was shown was very unnecessary, wasn't it? There was no reason for me to be like, I'm going to stop this from going for a boundary. I failed to stop the ball going to the boundary and then realised that I've picked up quite a lot of speed going down this hill, and then proceeded to have a judgment call on whether I was going to go full body through an old lady's fence or try to stop myself with my feet. I think I made the right decision by going for my feet, but I still ended up groin deep in the fence, and there was fair to say the two panels came out. I was still in the fence when the old lady came out and said, "Who's going to pay for this?" Didn't ask if I was okay. So that would be the one highlight from the season.
Yeah, no, that was one of the highlights of my cricketing lifetime, I would say. It was lucky that our friend Simon was there to be diplomatic and talk down the old lady, who was quite incensed about your foot being being sort of halfway through her fence.
I got off pretty lucky there, thinking about it. Like that could have been pretty. If I would have gone full body, I'd have been in serious bother.
Had Simon not been there, you'd have been at the mercy of the old lady, because everyone else on the whole pitch was like lying on the floor in tears of laughter. Right, back to the quiz. We're nearly on the home stretch now, or we are roughly on the home stretch. We are post English summer, which means, what does that mean?
IPL.
It means IPL. Max, you continue to receive the first question.
Okay.
So, let's go. The IPL was played in a later window than usual this year, with all matches taking place in the UAE. It demonstrated once again why it's the pinnacle of the T20 format, and the winners, the Mumbai Indians, are probably the best T20 team ever, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But enough preamble. Max, can you tell me who finished bottom of the table? Now, people who have been listening to the show for a whole year will know that I asked Max this same question about the 29 IPL, and he got it wrong. So this is a chance for redemption. And it should be possible to eliminate 4 of the teams immediately because they made the playoffs. And there's another team that clearly can't be the
Rajasthan
team that
Royals.
What did you say?
Rajasthan Royals.
It is the Rajasthan Royals. 3 teams finished with a record of 6 wins, 8 defeats. The Rajasthan Royals were one of them, but they had the worst net run rate overall. So we're bottom of the table, which moves us on to Ross's question. There were a lot of sixes hit at the IPL this year, weren't there, Ross?
It was almost too many. Almost too many sixes.
My question is, exactly how many sixes were hit at the IPL?
Wait.
No, I of course that'd be ridiculous. I couldn't actually find that on the internet. If any of our listeners can tweet in how many sixes were hit at the IPL and where you can find this information, we will send you a signed thoughts and prayers. Ross, the real question is, which player hit the most sixes?
Ishan Kishan.
It is Ishan Kishan. Good work, Ross. And if my scoring is correct, that means it is once again 10-8 with a 2-point gap.
He's absolutely phenomenal. I can't believe India didn't pick him. What is wrong with India's selection?
It's insane, isn't it?
Like he was different gravy, as we'd say over here. I think an average of like over 50. I thought he'd had. It was.
Yeah, I think he averaged like 50 with a strike rate of 150, and the most sixes despite playing 2 fewer games than a lot of the other people who were on that list. He wasn't the person who hit the biggest six of the tournament. Do you know who that was?
Nicholas Pooran?
Yeah, it was Nicholas Pooran. Good guess, Ross. Or good knowledge, Ross. He hit a 160-metre bomb in one game.
Fucking hell.
That's
bonkers.
That is
How big, sorry?
106.
I generally thought you said 160. I was just like,
160
what?
would be insane. Yeah, no, it's 106. But that's like across the whole of some cricket pitches in England.
Yeah, that's definitely into. Is it the hospital or the school behind the Oval, Max?
Yeah, Archbishop Townsend.
Gale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gale is top all time. He's hit 349. Sorry. That's over 100 more than second place, which is Max. AB de Villiers, well done.
What I was going to say. If you hadn't cut me off.
Right, boys. We are heading towards the end. We've got one more IPL question. And this is really, it's a tribute to you, Max. You, of the three of us, are the only person who has made their TV debut. On what TV show did you make your TV debut?
Tenable.
Can you talk the listeners through the concept of Tenable?
Sure. So basically, you go on the show with a team of 5 people, and each of you have to answer a question, which is a top 10 question. So you have to name the top 10 certain things in a category, and if you answer enough, you get through to the final round, where you all play to try and complete the final board to win money.
So taking inspiration from that and taking the actual game mechanism, which is you are going to hear a category and then between the two of you, you're going to face off to try and name all 10 of that category. We're going to play a game of Tenable. Does that excite you, Max? Max, you've got experience in this. How much money did you win?
None. None money.
Anyway, the category is who are the top 10 top wicket takers in the 2020 IPL. So they don't necessarily have to be in order. I just need a name from each of you until you run out. I'll give both of you one life each here to make the game slightly more interesting, because I'm sure one of you will do something stupid. And if the listeners haven't realised, we have drunk quite a lot of wine at this point. So do forgive us. Max, would you like to go first?
Sure.
So I just want to clarify. Max says one, I then say one, Max says one, or whoever comes
Exactly.
first. Yeah? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Max, would you like to go first, or would you like Ross to go first? As you're losing, you
I'll
get to
go
decide.
first.
Okay. Well, when you're ready, Max, let's play Tenable.
Well, I'll go with Jasprit Bumrah.
Jasprit Bumrah was number 2 on the top 10 IPL wicket takers in 2020. Ross, let's play Tenable.
Rabada.
Rabada, of course, was number 1 on the list.
If you like a seagull, Rabada, I'm getting cut. Sorry.
Haven't done
Too
that
much
one
work.
yet.
Damn.
Don't tease it.
There we are.
Too much work.
Max, back to you. I'm not going to say let's play Tenable again, because that would be ridiculous.
Chahal. Yuzvendra Chahal.
Chahal was number 5. Good work. Ross, back to you.
That is a great first name. I'd go with Nokia.
Nokia, number 4 on the list. Max, get back to you. The pressure's starting to ramp up now.
Yeah. I reckon Joff made the list.
Joffre did make. Of course, Joffre made the list. He was number 7. He had a pretty good tournament. He probably more notable for his economy rate, which was just 6.5. The Rajasthan Royals, the teams that played against them, they basically just stopped trying to score runs off Archer because it was such a feast when everyone else was bowling. Ross, over to you.
Trent Bolt.
Trent Bolt, number 3 on the list. He had a great IPL, didn't he? Trent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's, again, demonstrated the value of having a left armour who's absolutely class in T20 cricket.
Yeah, and I think as well they used him really well. He basically bowled 3 overs at the beginning, maybe 1 a bit later on, and people struggled to get him away. Bowled the most maidens in the tournament as well with 3. Max, we have got the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th top wicket taker in this year's IPL.
There was a little glut in the middle where I reckon Rashid Khan made it in.
Oh, of course, Rashid Khan.
That's been my next one.
Rashid Khan was number 6 on the list. So, fellas, in your first 7 guesses, you have named the top 7 wicket takers in the IPL. And certainly, whatever happens from now, you've earned pride. I am proud of your performance as it reflects well upon the podcast of which I am a part.
Thank you, Jack.
Ross.
Well, I do think our coverage of the IPL was pretty fucking great.
It was certainly extensive.
Yeah. Of the IPL coverage that I heard, ours was the best.
Well, there we go.
You can tell your friends, people at home.
I'm going to go for Mohammed Shami.
That's a good one.
Number 8 on the list. So we've now named, between the two of you, you have named the top 8 wicket takers in this year's IPL.
Max, well done, mate. Well done. I'm going to raise a glass to that. Well done. Yeah.
Max, when you were on Tenable, how many of whatever top 10 you had to get did you get before you lost all your money?
What, personally?
Well, yeah, personally, yeah.
So on my one, I got 4 out of 10, and then I was out. But it was about Eurovision, so...
Well, you're doing better here, aren't you?
I am.
You're doing much better, yeah. Max, there are 2 possible answers left.
It's
It's starting to get a bit tricky.
Yeah, it's getting a bit tricky. Yeah. I will go...
Sorry, Max. So what are we going to do here? We just if Max gets this wrong, it's all over, or are we going to do a shootout as we've got down to the last 2?
So you have 1 life each, which means you can make 1 incorrect guess. Okay. Whoever runs out of guesses first loses. So Max has an advantage by going first, but also can be the first person eliminated if it goes wrong.
Yeah.
It's tension. It's perfectly designed, this game, for maximum tension.
Excellent. Well,
let's play Tenable.
I will go for Rahul Chahar.
That's a good guess.
It's a good guess, but it's an incorrect.
Come on.
guess. Ross, over to you.
Where was Rahul? Do you know, or just not 10?
I'll bring that up, but let's have Ross's guess.
I'm going to go for the new poster boy of Indian cricket, which is Natarajan.
Ross, that's a fantastic answer. That is a fantastic answer, and it's tenable.
Well done.
That was the 10th player on the list. Max, this is to stay in it and avoid losing. This is a lot of work for 1 point, Ross, but you've earned this point.
1 point. Oh, this...
in a minute we're going to play another improv round for 5 points.
Max takes the lead.
Max, there's one name left on the list. Number 9 on the IPL 2020 top wicket takers. Do you know it?
No, I do not. So I'll just have to see what I can come up with, won't I? I will go for Navdeep Saini.
That's not too bad a guess. I think actually he featured on some of the other lists. He doesn't feature on this list though. Varun Chakravarti was the final player on the list of top 10. Maybe we could have thrown it over to Ross for the answer, but I've spoilt the fun there. Ross, you take another point there, and it is now 11-8.
I enjoyed that, Max. Fucking well played there. That was I'm actually really impressed with both of us, actually.
Yeah, I'm impressed with you both too. It is possible. Thanks, there are three questions left. Max, you can theoretically tie this up.
It would be a crime against quizzing if that were to happen.
Well, let's see what happens then. 3 questions left. These are about reasonably contemporary cricket. So you only need a short memory span to get these. This week, Ross, India folded like wet cardboard against Australia in the second innings of their most recent Test match. They were all out for 36, which is the lowest team score in Test cricket for 65 years. Can you tell me which team holds the record for lowest score in Test cricket? And I'll give you extra kudos, but no points if you know how many they scored.
I'm going to go for New Zealand, 31.
26.
It is New Zealand. And Max says 26. I was lying about the kudos. You get an extra point, Max. So it's now... it's 12-9.
Okay, well, we got a point each.
Yeah, you got a point each. But don't complain, because I have the quizmaster giveth and the quizmaster taketh away. It was pretty astonishing stuff, wasn't it, this week? Only one of the other top 10 low scores comes from the era after they started covering pitches. Ireland, of course, with 38 last year, Ross, which you have told us about many times on this podcast. Max, your final question before the last free-for-all one on the list. This weekend, the 18th series of Strictly Come Dancing concluded. Bill Bailey took the win. Cricket and Strictly have got a little bit of a history with each other, haven't they, Max?
Indeed.
Can you name the 2 cricketers who have won the Glitterball Trophy?
Mark Ramprakash.
That's correct. That's 1 point.
So I don't know who. So either Darren Gough or Graham Swan. I'm going to go Graham Swan.
Darren Gough. Was the answer I was looking for. Tufnell, Vaughan and Swan have also appeared on the show. Johnny Bairstow said he'd be interested in the future. What do you reckon Johnny would be like on the dance floor?
Terrible.
If I'm perfectly honest, I think Johnny Bairstow's interested in absolutely everything as long as he's doing it.
Have you seen, if you want to laugh, Michael Vaughan's Jive is on YouTube. It's supreme dad dancing.
I was just going to say, it sounds supremely offensive. If I'm perfectly honest.
Right, so the scores are going into the tiebreaker, which will be worth more than the difference in points. Ross, you are on 12. Max, you are on 10. The tiebreaker question is...
He's on 10, is he?
Round it up.
It's an incredibly impressive score considering he's only got 4 questions correct. But it's like friend of the pod Dan Weston says, it's about hitting boundaries.
Yeah, when I
Basically,
score, I make it count.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Yeah, Ross, you're keeping the
Strike
score ticking
rate.
over.
My strike rate is through the roof.
Don't compare me to fucking Rahul.
The tiebreaker question is, and if you get within 10, I'll give you 2 points, so you can tie this, Max. If you get it exactly, you get 5 points, and otherwise closest gets a point. So the tiebreaker question is, Zach Crawley scored 267 against Pakistan in the 3rd test of the series. We didn't mention that, did we? It was quite a good innings from Zach. He announced himself as a big force in Test cricket. The question is, though, boys, how many balls did he face making that 267? Ross, as you are in the lead, you have to guess first.
Oh, that's...
So, 267, he accumulated it over a fair old while. Hadn't scored a century to that point, and now averages nearly 50 in Test cricket. Probably going to be the best player in the world, isn't he?
Was that Crawley? I mean, quite possibly. It was a
If
pretty
he isn't-
momentous innings, isn't it?
If he isn't already the best player in the world. They say you're only as good as your last game, and that was a pretty good last game.
Was that his last game he played?
Yeah, I think he played a few games for Kent afterwards, but for England.
Oh, that is a pretty good way to just be like, do you know what, lads?
Right, I am going to need an answer from you, though.
So how many balls did he face for 200? 285.
Pretty brisk double century, Ross reckons there.
He absolutely smashed it around.
Right, Max, if you get within 10, you can tie this up. And the Christmas quiz cricket of the year will be tied once again between you two Goliaths of quizzing. Max, how many balls did Zach Crawley face?
413.
You know what? That's not a bad guess. That threatened the right answer. 393 is correct. So, Max, that means you get to 11. Ross, you're the winner of the Cricket Podcast Christmas Quiz with 12 points. How does that make you feel?
Ecstatic. It's the best thing that's happened to me in 2020. Max, valiant effort. Thanks very much for hosting.
Yeah, well played, Ross.
Cool.
Well quizzed. Thank you, Jack.
No problem. Shall we take a quick break? Listeners, of course, get in touch with us or at the Cricket Pod on Twitter. Let us know how you got on. Let us know whether quizzes are good or not.
It's also nice to know that the stuff that we talk about, we actually retain somewhat. Max,
Well,
less so.
not me, yeah.
Yeah, Max less so. I mean, it's good to know when I do make the notes, they kind of stick in the memory. That is.
I wrote this whole quiz from memory.
Yeah, well, what a man.
393 balls, mate. It's up there. It's in the dome.
Okay, so when we come back, we will do a brief roundup of Australia versus India.
COVID is rife. The bubble's here. We're here tonight. And the whole year simply having a terrible quarantine. Simply having a terrible quarantine. We can't go out. Take it from Joff. One little flout, and he was dropped. Simply having a terrible quarantine. Simply having a terrible quarantine. The choir of Markwood sings our song. He's practiced all day long. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. The summer's done, we're out of hell, but here it comes, the IPL. Simply having a terrible quarantine. Simply having a terrible quarantine. The bubbles burst, it's time to leave. Some dodgy tests have set us free. Simply having a terrible quarantine. Simply Yes, so as you said, Ross, India-Australia took place. The first test, it all looked very promising to start with, and then abruptly ended, didn't it, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, the build-up in itself was eventful. Rohit Sharma entertained us with the classic game of Where's Wally, Where's Waldo, whatever it's called everywhere else. And I like to, on last week's podcast, we laid out what India needed to do to win, as well as our show with Dan Norcross the week before. So I'm just going to run through some of those and just point out where it might have gone wrong and where it might have gone right. So first up, get the selection right. We said don't pick Privy Shaw. We said pick Pant over Saha. What did they do? They picked Privy Shaw and they picked, unfortunately, Saha. Win the toss and bat. Did they do that? Ding, ding, ding. Max, they did. They did. That. Thank goodness for that. If you get a start, make it count. Did any of their batsmen do that in both innings?
Kohli kind of did in the first one, and then Rahani'd him.
Yeah, that's point 4. Don't do any silly run-outs, especially don't run out Captain Kohli.
Yeah, you've got lads. We've got the best batsman in the world for one game. How are we going to use it? Get him to 70.
He's in. No, it didn't look like getting out at all, dude. That was Kohli looked set. He looked magnificent. He was just like, this is Test match Kohli. And then Rahane is sitting there going, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah, he was looking good for a daddy 100, wasn't he?
Yeah, big daddy 100. 5, hit 300 first innings and bowl well straight out of the blocks. Didn't quite hit 300, but actually their bowling unit bowled extremely well. Bumrah dismissed the first 2. Jack, what did you think about that?
Here's the thing. Like, I would say about India's... Right, so first of all, to answer your original question, they did bowl well. Before the series, one of the things people said, and probably we said it on this show, was that India have their best pace attack in ages, and their pace attack might be as good as Australia's. I mean, that's probably a leap, but people were going down that avenue of thought. I would say you probably saw why their pace attack isn't better than Australia's, although they did bowl quite well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I can understand that. I think a lot of people will talk about Ishant Sharma, who I genuinely think is far older than he actually looked. Like it's unbelievable. I can't believe he's still playing cricket. I remember watching him bowl against Alistair Cook, I think. Well, this might be a complete fake memory, by the way, but I think I saw Ishant Sharma bowled against Alistair Cook when Cook turned up his debut. That is what is in my head.
That's definitely incorrect, isn't it?
Jenny, that is ingrained in my head, and I have no idea why. So that's probably my misconception.
Yeah, Sharma would have to be about 70 to have bowled against Alistair Cook.
We should check
debut.
that. Max,
he's about 70 foot tall, isn't he?
Yeah,
he is tall. You're definitely wrong on that. I reckon. I mean, like, we've already done the quiz element of this podcast. But
who was the bowling lineup when Alistair Cook hit his first century against India?
Exactly. No, I think they maybe missed Sharma overall. I think look, Shami and
Yadav
and Bumrah were excellent. I don't think Yadav is as good as Sharma.
No,
and I think that's probably where they fell down. I mean, like the real star of the show, and we haven't got to him yet, was Ravi Ashwin. Surely,
it's my next point. Number 6, trust Ravi Ashwin. It will take the middle order with you, including Steve Smith, who hit 1 off of 29 deliveries. Interesting
pretty
innings.
slow.
Interesting
pretty
innings.
Slow from Steve. He's probably just getting a feel for it, isn't he?
Well, he said he's already found his hands. He doesn't need to spend any time doing anything else.
But now he has to find whatever else. So you find your hands, and that led to 2 65-ball centuries in the ODIs. Now, presumably, he has to find like
his test hands.
Determination. His forearms.
Yeah, like he's got to find something, and he used half the number of balls it took him to get to 100 to get 1. And that's just Steve Smith recalibrating. You know, like on those old PlayStation games you could get where you fire the gun at the screen, and if you do it for too long, eventually the screen, it doesn't. What you shoot on the screen goes wrong. It doesn't aim to the correct place. So you have to recalibrate, and then it's like, oh, now aim the gun at the middle, now aim it at the left, and then after that you can play the game again, and you can shoot at the screen. Mm-hmm. Steve Smith has to go through exactly that process when he transfers into Test cricket. I believe he has to. That 31 was just Steve Smith's recalibration process, And in the next game, he'll probably score 800.
Okay. Weirdly,
I don't often. I know a lot about batting technique, and because the podcast is sort of one part entertainment, one part serious cricket. I don't often go into the nitty gritty because it's a little bit boring. But trust me, I have spoken to lots of coaches, and that is what this process that Steve Smith goes through is exactly like that PlayStation recalibration.
All right, I'm not going
amazing at time crisis, by the way.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. So I'm going to bundle my points of 7, 8, and 9, and probably 10 into one here.
You press the time.
You've got a first innings lead. Make it count. Don't worry. Everyone loses an early wicket, especially if your name rhymes with Shifty Pro. It's fine. That just happens. Don't worry about it. It's Australia. Bumrah in at 3.
That was controversial, wasn't it? Man who averages 2.5 in Test cricket.
Yeah, he hits a 50 in the warm-up game, and then all of a sudden, India selection up. We've got ourselves Stuart Broad in our hands here, don't we, lads? We've got ourselves a nice... It's not even Stuart Broad, is it?
Imagine if Jack Leach were Indian.
I mean, I think the concept of the night watchman is stupid in the first place because it mathematically doesn't make sense. We don't need to go into that now, but trust me, it doesn't.
There's a lot of trust here.
If you are, and this is again, this actually is this is just based on maths, not my deep knowledge of how PlayStation games influence batting technique in the 21st century. If you are going to use a night watchman, you need to make sure they can bat a little bit because they'll just be out in the morning. I mean, but Bumrah, he accomplished his task and he faced 8 balls to get through to the end of day 2. What did you think he was going to do in the morning except be out and then expose the new batsman to the new ball? I mean, it wasn't the morning, was it? It was the afternoon. Yeah. But he's still going to cause you that problem. There's no... With Jack Leach, for instance, he has enough about him to maybe use up half an hour in the morning or an hour and hold the game up a little bit, take some shine off the ball, make things a little bit difficult for the bowling team.
Is there an argument if you're saying
2.5 and he didn't even bat his average?
If you're saying that you would put in a night watchman for the end of the day and hope that maybe they could do something in the morning as well, should you not open with a tail-ender who can bat a bit and have like a morning watchman?
We even have done that.
Yeah. Just stick Jack Leach in at number 1, see if he can eat up 30 balls, and then... in comes whoever it is, Burns, Sibley.
England's strong enough to find an opening batsman who could survive 30 balls. Jack, they're not called a night and day watchman, are they? They're called a night watchman. They're in to do that role.
Well, what's the point? You're just giving the other team a wicket, which means that the people who can actually bat later on in the innings have less resources to deal with.
I would genuinely thoroughly enjoy watching you field from 10:30 in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning all day, and then going, go on, mate, go and bat underneath the floodlights after all that, and have Josh Hazlewood, Pat Cummins, and Mitchell start bowling at you, and you bring this like.
Exactly the same issue.
Why would you make the man who's bowled all the overs to do it?
He's bowled 25 fucking overs. Yeah, exactly. What do you think's going to happen?
I'm not saying Bumrah was the right choice. I'm saying the night watchman thing isn't as bad as you think it is.
The night watchman concept is deeply flawed.
Let's have a deep dive on that another day.
We should do a deep dive into the night watchman. But what definitely is flawed here, gents, is India's batting, because what score do you think they got to, which they didn't hit any runs between 2 wickets and 5 wickets?
15.
Were they on 15?
15. So
yeah,
15 for 2, 15 for 3, 15 for 4, 15 for 5. Oh dear Lord, no! It's 36 all out. Their lowest total in Test cricket, and I think it was 21 overs, 21.2 overs or something.
Yeah, no one made double figures.
No, but to be fair, Bumrah did pretty fucking well, didn't he? Faced 17 balls, wasn't too shabby. Who really is to blame for this is the question that I want to hear, because
Josh Hazlewood.
The Australians bowled incredibly well, incredibly well. But the wicket. So, Jack, you were watching the highlights just before this. It wasn't pretty, was it? It wasn't like. They were bowled well, but you could still leave the ball outside off stump, gents.
No, I disagree with that. I think basically Hazlewood and Cummins bowled really well, and sometimes batsmen edge those. It's a freak occurrence.
Yeah.
This India team, probably their flaw is their batting away from home. So there is a weakness there. They're not as good. They don't score 550 for 4 away from home very often, and they'll do that all the time at home. So there's an element of maybe some of them aren't quite as good as people think they are, with the massive exception, obviously, of Virat Kohli. So there is a little bit of a weakness there, and there's definitely a little bit of a weakness against really good bowling. I mean, when they came to England in 2018, they weren't an all-conquering cricket force. I mean, no. Virat Kohli had one of the great away series, maybe his best ever series, and we're talking about one of the best players in England that year. And still England were blowing away that India team. What you saw today was basically a team bowling quite well with a ball that moved around a little bit against a team that don't play that well in those conditions, and then on top of that, all of the luck went for Australia. There were some good catches. Every single time someone put their bat out there, caught behind.
Yeah, okay, I can understand that.
I mean, it's a massive freak. And they didn't bat well, like clearly.
I'm still with the camp they should get more than 36, but yeah, I can see your point.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll get a score like that, and the batting has folded in on itself. But I mean, from what I can see, Bumrah got done by the pitch being bouncier and faster, and he's not a very good batsman. Kohli chased.
Bumrah is probably worse than all of us at batting. I just want to be clear. To average 2.5, like that's not that hard to
probably
do.
disagree with that, but we'll never mind.
I think you would be stunned. How bad you have to be.
Max, I'm not sure how low your self-esteem has to be as an opening batsman for you not to say you'd average at least 2.75 in Test cricket.
Well, against 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, but because you know where your feet are supposed to go. This guy has literally been given a stick of wood and goes, "Go on, mate, go out into the field and see what you can do." You at least have got that bit where you just like, "Oh, Joe, it might be a bit quick, but I can get an edge on it. It might go for 4, whatever." Anyway, I'm not going to go down Max's inability to be a batsman. Kohli's going home. That's a massive loss. The selectors will continue to get things wrong. Why they didn't pick Pant is beyond me. Shaw is so far out of form. It's almost painful to see. Australia have Dave Warner coming back. Joe Burns hit a 50. When things aren't looking good down under, you're in for an unenjoyable pounding. As far as I'm concerned, when it looks like, I think it's good. I'm going to change it. It's going to be a 4-0. It's going to be a 4-0 annihilation.
I think it looks that way.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think India have lost their second best quick bowler, probably their third best bowler.
Yeah.
Shami's broken his arm. He's not coming back. Rohit Sharma doesn't turn up till Test 3 if he turns up. Prithvi Shaw is a walking wicket, so who do they bring? It's Shubman Gill. I mean, so Shubman Gill, they don't think is better than Prithvi Shaw.
No.
Like that's
it's not a good confidence thing, is it? It's just like, no. You've hit more runs than this guy, but we still don't think you're better than the guy who's got no runs.
Rishabh Pant is someone they could bring in for Sahar, or the Ridderman, not Louis variety. He had a torrid IPL, and I know he's like the cricket hipster's choice behind the stumps for India, but having watched that IPL, and I probably saw 10 of Pant's 16 innings, or 18 innings, maybe more than 10. Didn't really look Test caliber, to be honest. I wouldn't be super confident that guy's a solution.
Sahar, on the other hand, came in for Sunrisers and completely changed their fortunes.
Well, yeah, and then on the flip side, Joe Burns got a 50, hit a 6 off the last ball. At one point, Australia needed 35 to win, and Burns was on 20. He managed to get a 50. He was smacking the ball all over the place to get there. So he looks like he's got a bit of form back. Wade probably won't have to open the next match because Warner's almost certainly back in the team, which means that Wade will either bat instead of head, or they'll stick with head. Neither are dreadful options there.
I think they'll stick with head, won't they? Wade's a bit older. I think they'll
go so they get rid of they get rid of Wade. I mean that means the only weakness in the Australian batting lineup really at that point is Travis Head, and Travis Head isn't bad, but you've got two openers who, one's David Warner, one looks to be a little bit more in form, followed by Labuschagne and Smith. And we're not even talking about the bowling attack that's just decimated India and has got rotation options. It's not even like one of them might get injured, or if they did get injured, they'd need someone else. Because they can just bring in James Pattinson.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like they've got an awful spinner. They've got the third best Australian bowler of all time. at Nathan Lyon. He's
like you say, Ross. Once the wheels come off down under, it's really hard to get back in the game.
And the first game was their best chance, and it was looking good before it all went spectacularly
Max,
wrong.
That is exactly that point. They looked like they had it. They bowled Australia. They had a first innings lead. No one gets a first innings lead in Australia and then literally squanders it as badly as India did.
Yeah. And of course, their captain and best away batsman by miles is going home.
It's not looking good.
I think they might get a draw at the MCG because the MCG pitch is always shit. But it wouldn't stun me if they lost there as well.
Yeah, we'll see when the third test comes round who Rahane runs out there. Rohit Sharma's on 95. Called you down. See you later. Anyway, gents, I thought the quiz was great. Have we got anything else to add for the India vs Australia series, or should we wrap it up there?
That's all I've got.
Yeah, nothing from me. Next test obviously on Boxing Day, so look forward to that.
I think there's also another one, which is New Zealand versus Pakistan as well. I think.
Yeah, that does get underway at the same time. Yeah, I think going back to the first question from the quiz, there's the possibility that if Kane Williamson gets another double century in that, he can overtake Ben Stokes for top run scorer of the year. So
Max would still be wrong though, wouldn't he? Anyway, thank you ever so much for listening to the Cricket Podcast. Have a very Merry Christmas, Max. Merry Christmas, chat. Very Merry Christmas.
Yeah, follow us, the Cricket Pod, on Instagram and Twitter. Have a good Christmas, dear listener.
What a Christmas present this would be, sharing this podcast with your loved ones. Brilliant.